All guests on ZASLOW Show 2.0 are brought to us by the official beer of the program. You know, we're talking Johnny Cuba, European roots with that Caribbean soul. It's a refreshing German lager in a can. Go to johnnycuba.us. Use the Johnny Locator. You'll find the nearest location to you. How else are we going to enjoy the Heat? The Heat are taking on the Grizzlies, looking for 7 in a row. Can have a nice cold Johnny Cuba on my hand. Make sure you always drink responsibly. And don't forget Johnny Cuba's mantra, stay tranquilo. And joining us now, star of You Better You Bet, our good pal is Nick Kostos. Of course, you can catch the final hour of You Better You Bet on NBC, Peacock. That's 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern time every weekday. Nick, good to see you. How are you?
What's going on, buddy? Great to be on with you here.
Look at you. You got the Yankee hat. Are you a big fan of the Torpedo bat?
I'm a fan of whatever gets my team over the hump to win the championship. Now, unfortunately, the Torpedo bats have not been great since the weekend. Anthony Volpe did hit a 3-run homer in the bottom of the ninth last night, but alas, not enough to get my Yankees over the hump, losing 4-3, 2 straight losses to the Diamondbacks. I feel like this is going to be more of the same this year. I don't know if the Torpedo bats are going to matter that much.
What a surprise that the Torpedo bats, not quite the same effect when you're not facing the Brewers.
Yeah, right. Well, it was so funny on Monday. I think the Brewers played the Royals and gave up like 1,000 runs. And it's maybe it's just Milwaukee's terrible pitching.
Yeah.
And not that these are like supercharged bats. So yeah, also I liked the Yankees more when they were all on steroids like 20 years ago, but that's a story for another time. Yeah, I don't think the Torpedo bats will make that much of a difference.
How are you feeling about your Knicks right now? I mean, they lost again to Cleveland. They can't beat any of the top teams. Now, granted, I think every time they played the Cavaliers this year has been the second night of a back-to-back, including last night. How are we feeling about the Knicks going into the playoffs?
Well, I think if you said, okay, well, the Knicks could play Cleveland in the second round and Brunson's back and, rest in between games and they're on equal footing. Okay, I think the Cavs would win the series, but maybe you can make a case for the Knicks. The problem with the Knicks is they're going to be the 3. Now, I think they'll slaughter Milwaukee in the first round if there's no Lillard. I think the Knicks will win even if Lillard plays, but that's a walkover. I would rather play Milwaukee than the Pacers or the Pistons if I'm the Knicks with no Lillard. Let Giannis score 40 points a game. The Knicks will still win that series in 5. The problem is that the Knicks will then play the Celtics. And I hate to say this as a New Yorker and a New York sports fan, Knicks are going to get torn up by Boston. They're kind of like, they're better than Memphis, but they're kind of like the Grizzlies of the East in that they beat up on bad teams. They cannot beat any good teams, which sounds like a recipe for disaster come playoff time. I think in the East, ZASLOW, we are on a collision course for Celtics-Cavs Eastern Conference Final. The West, I think, is way more fun and wide open, but I think the Knicks ceiling is second round of the playoffs this year, unfortunately.
You know, I've been talking about this on the show a little bit today. Jokic a couple nights ago. I mean, you would have thought Steph Curry's, 52-point effort would have been the story of the night, but instead Jokic goes to double overtime. He scores 61. He has a triple-double, most points ever for a triple-double, 61 points. And I've been talking about this a little bit today where it was a bit of a topic of conversation yesterday where, hey, if, it was a bigger star in the NBA, LeBron or someone like that, even Luka, who's done it before, who has a 60-point triple-double, it'd be all day long on television, ESPN TV, ESPN radio. Why do you think that's not the case when Jokic does it?
Well, I think, they lost. I don't know if that's the main reason why, but I mean, they did lose the game. And just, I'll speak from my perspective. Why the national media doesn't cover it. I mean, because he doesn't care, right? Because he's not a firebrand. He doesn't get people to go in the way LeBron gets people going or other players get people going. They won the championship, and he said, when's the parade? It's 3 days from now, and he was wanted to cry because all he wanted to do was go home and deal with his horses, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of Jokic's MO. But they lost. It wasn't like he put up a 61-point triple-double, most points in a triple-double in NBA history, and they won. And not just they lost again to Minnesota, who are the tormentors and the bullies on the block, who can't stop stuffing the Denver Nuggets in a locker every time they play. And I think, a lot of people, including me, ZASLOW, have a lot of questions about the Nuggets come playoff time. And we can simultaneously acknowledge, I'm guessing you agree with this, SGA is going to win MVP, and he's phenomenal. His upside is to be like Kobe. I'm not saying he's going to get there, but it's in his range of outcomes is to be like that type of player. Jokic is the best player in the league. SGA is going to win MVP. Jokic is the best player. But the Nuggets defense is so bad that I don't know what the case is other than Jokic just puts on the Superman cape for 4 rounds. I don't even think they're getting to the NBA. I don't think they're winning the West. I like the Lakers more. I like the Warriors more. I like the Thunder more. And, God help the Nuggets if they have to face Minnesota in a 7-game series. I'll take the Timberwolves also. So I think it's a combo of Jokic isn't that type of personality that can carry huge talk radio segments, debate shows. And also they lost. It's not like they won the game on Monday night.
How embarrassed are people who were making the argument that entire season that Embiid is better than Jokic?
Well, okay, so he's not. Yeah, that's a silly argument that Embiid's better. But I don't think there's anything wrong with Embiid winning that MVP a couple years ago, though. And the one thing that I don't want to get lost here, and just to be clear, he's not better than Jokic. He isn't. He's not. But at his best, when he's healthy, his ceiling is to be a top 20 player in league history, right? I don't think he's ever going to get there because of all the injuries, unfortunately for him. He's really fun to watch. But yeah, I think his ceiling is so damn high. So I will disagree and push back on people that say he's better than Jokic. It's ridiculous. He's not. And that's not an insult to say that. This is like the people, Zaslow, that get mad when you say LeBron's not as good as Jordan. It's not an insult to say that someone's not the best ever. Mm-hmm. Saying that Embiid's not as good as Jokic is not an insult to Embiid. It's a compliment to put them in the same conversation. And Embiid at his best, I think, is really great. I think he deserved to win that MVP. Is he better than Jokic? Of course not.
Let me get your thoughts on this. This is something that I was talking about on ESPN Radio a couple nights ago as a topic of conversation for us in regards to Embiid, because Zion 2 days ago was officially announced as they're shutting him down for the remainder of the season. Why doesn't Zion get the Embiid treatment from us? What's the difference between the two?
Well, a couple things. I would say that, first off, Zion's 24, so it's still early in his career. Embiid's 31. This has been going on for almost a decade longer with Embiid than it has with Zion Williamson. Also, I think if Zion played in Philly and Embiid played in New Orleans, could you imagine how Zion would be getting raked over the coals if he played for the Sixers and this were going on? I hate to say, New Orleans is a great sports town. The Saints have an electric fan base. Is it wrong to say that no one cares about the Pelicans, or people don't really care about the Pelicans?
It's not wrong. No.
They're not a national team. I guess people in New Orleans like them. New Orleans is a Saints town first and foremost. So I think Zion's kind of able to fly under the radar a little bit. I would say even think about Memphis, right? Where Ja gets raked over the coals. And Memphis isn't exactly and it's not an insult. It's not Philly as a sports city, right? It's a pro sports town. You put Zion in Philadelphia, dude. Come on. The guy would be getting crushed on a daily basis.
Yeah. I was having this conversation with my son last night. Alex Ovechkin scores 892. So I think it's 7 games left, 2 away from tying Gretzky, 3 away from the record. Nick, if we get to the final game of the regular season, he's on the record. He's tied, all right? So he's 1 away from the all-time record. We're at the final game of the season. We could have that scenario. Capitals are up 1 late. The other team pulls the goalie. Nick, that record cannot come on an empty net.
Yes, it can.
No.
Well, how many empty netters has Gretzky scored in his career?
Probably 1 million, all right?
So what's the problem then?
The records, you gotta beat a goalie for the record.
Yeah, I don't. He scored a billion goals. I think it's okay if this one comes. I totally disagree with that. I think that's a fun thing to say. I could not disagree. I don't care about it at all. I think an empty netter is totally legit if he gets it. I think
that is so anticlimactic.
Oh, it's a little anticlimactic, but also, this is just my opinion. I'm like you, right? You're a diehard sports fan like I am, right? But sports fans our whole lives. So you're a little older than me, right? I turn 42 later this year.
I'm 44.
Okay. So growing up in New York, and you grew up northeast, right?
South Florida. I'm the first ZASLOW, not New York.
Okay, got it. That's I remember we had talked about this, right? So growing up, in the late 80s, early 90s, and looking at all the the record and fact books, right? And looking at all the historical stats, I kind of felt at the time, and then even if you had asked me or anybody 10 years ago, are any of these Gretzky records like ever going to get broken?
Oh, God,
and you would think like, no. I think the fact that we're even here where someone has a chance to do it is incredible in and of itself.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care if it's like a pass from the blue line that bounce off like 4 skates, like through the 5-hole of the goalie who's not paying attention.
What if it just bounces off like his shin? It gets redirected.
I mean,
he had nothing to do with it. He gets credit for the goal.
Goals get scored in all sorts of different ways. And I'll say this just quickly on the Capitals and Ovechkin. You know, last night Washington goes to Carolina and gets absolutely shelled by the Hurricanes 5-1. Now, the Hurricanes have been Eastern Conference jabronis in the playoffs for a long time. They won the cup with Cam Ward 20 years ago, but this current era with Rod Brind'Amour, like they're losers.
I mean, we swept that ass 2 years ago.
You beat the piss out of them. Absolutely. Yeah, there's no the Rangers beat them, and the Rangers are kind of jabronis, right? I think it's going to be really interesting, Zaslow, when we get to the start of the playoffs in the Stanley Cup and the NHL, and Winnipeg and Washington have been the 2 best regular season teams all year, one in the West, one in the East, obviously. And the betting market doesn't like either, like to win the Stanley Cup. Can you guess right now? I have it up in front of me. Can you guess at BetMGM, my show sponsor, who the favorite is to win the Stanley Cup right now?
I would guess Dallas.
So yesterday, the answer was your team, the Florida Panthers.
Okay.
Florida loses last night. I bet Toronto in that game on the road and took just Stolarz has been on a hot streak. He's been playing awesome.
Back-to-back for us. And minus Barkov. We're getting crushed by injury.
And I'll tell you, and no Kachuk, obviously. And the Panthers like almost, and I bet Toronto. Florida almost tied the game late. I was bleeping a brick at the end of that game. I needed Toronto to win. So Florida's now the second choice after losing last night to Toronto. Then you have Colorado. Then you have Edmonton. Then you have Carolina, then you have Vegas, then you have Tampa,
so
and
Dallas
then you have the Capitals and the Jets.
So Dallas is number 1 then.
Dallas is the favorite right now to win the cup. And I'll say this about Dallas just very quickly on the Stanley Cup, where I think, gun to my head right now, I would take Dallas if I had to pick a team at this moment in time. But Jake Ottinger, for all like the plaudits and all the credit that he gets, he's kind of like a playoff jabroni also. So I think that this Stanley Cup playoffs is way wide open with a couple weeks to go in the regular season.
Yeah, I'm very excited. It's my drugs. I love the Stanley Cup playoffs when the Panthers are in it. I mean, the feeling I get during those games, it's unmatched. I love it. Tournament this weekend. Give us some plays here. We got the Florida Gators. I'm a huge front-runner bandwagon for my alma mater. All right, so Florida and Auburn, Houston and Duke. What do we like Saturday night?
So here's my, I've this has been not every tournament's great for me. And I've been on with you a million times. I don't win all my bets, right? If I did, like I wouldn't be on this like StreamYard call at 9:09 a.m. on Thursday morning. I'd be on I'd be living in like the French Riviera or something, man. This has been a really good betting tournament for yours truly. I said for months, we talked about it on You Bet for months, and I will get past like the Barry Horowitz pat on the back here in a minute, but just to kind of set the stage for what I'm going to say. I kind of felt like these were the 4 best teams all year, and I had all 4 1 seeds going to the Final Four. I parlayed it. Be like, that's not something to pat yourself on the back over. So, well, why didn't you have it then? Everyone's like Ken Palm, 4 historical teams. Okay, great. Then why didn't everyone predict it?
It's only the second time it's ever happened.
Yeah. So I just felt, and I could have been, look, Florida should have lost to Texas Tech. Houston could have lost to Purdue on last Friday night. Katy Perry song in my head now. So it didn't have to go this way, but it did. And I say that to say this. I felt really strongly about everything coming up until now. Now that we're here, the thing that I feel strongest about is not a bet this weekend. Duke's going to win the title. And I've been saying this since before Thanksgiving, when Duke had a couple early losses in the regular season, and the losses were always at the end of games against really good teams, including one against Kansas, who at that point was like a top 10 team, with Cooper Flagg kind of turning it over at the end of the games, and they would lose by like 3 points or 4, whatever it is. And I was thinking then, like, wow, if this is what this is now in November, what's this going to be in March? They're just the best team. Yeah. So is Duke going to cover the spread against Houston? Duke is currently a 5.5 point favorite. If I had to bet the game, the side of the game, yes, I do think Duke's going to cover. For what it's worth, I think this is the national title game, Duke and Houston. If Houston, for whatever reason, upsets Duke, I'll take Houston to beat either Auburn or Florida on Monday night.
Really? Okay.
But yeah. Oh, I think these are the two best teams. But I do like Duke. So ask me what my best bet is. Duke to win the national title. I just bet Duke to win the next two games. Or parlay Duke money line with something else that you like over the course of the next couple days. If I had to bet and I am going to bet the first game, I have a little bit of a hard time with this one. I think I'm going to end up betting Auburn. I would love to get +3. I don't know if I'm going to get it. Florida's currently -2.5. This spread has come close to touching 3 at points. Florida keeps getting bet, then Auburn gets bet. So we're sitting at 2.5. The holes, and I know Florida went into Auburn and beat them on the road, and Todd Golden is on record, Florida's coach, saying that that's kind of like the inflection point in their season. I understand. The whole season, the narrative was, and it was correct, until Florida made the late surge at the end, was that there were 2 teams above the rest in college hoops this season, Duke and Auburn. And are we just kind of on a collision course for Duke and Auburn in the national title game? And it feels like everybody's forgotten about Auburn,
right?
Because of how good Florida's been. I'm not suggesting Florida can't or won't win. They're favored. In 2 of Florida's 4 games en route to the Final Four, this is not an opinion. This is a fact. They were outplayed over the balance of 2 of the 4 games. UConn in round 2 and Texas Tech in the Elite 8. So I wanted Florida to win. I had Florida in the Final Four. I won money when Florida got there. So I'm happy that Florida's here. I'm not suggesting they should have lost to you. I'm happy they won. But we can be honest and objective, right? And say that this Gators team did not play its best basketball. Whereas Auburn hit the afterburners against basically everybody that they played. Creighton in round 2, Michigan in the Sweet 16, and then put away a really game Michigan State team in the Elite 8 and covered the spread in the process. I'll take Auburn plus the points. I'll take Auburn to win. But what's my best bet, Zaslow? I think Duke's going to win the title.
Okay. Excellent points. Finally here for Nick Kostos. Again, You Better You Bet. And you can catch the final hour of You Better You Bet. That's 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern every weekday on NBC and Peacock. WrestleMania. I mean, come on. What are we talking? This weekend is 2 weeks away. We are 2 weeks away this weekend. WrestleMania. What's the excitement level for this year's granddaddy of them all?
I'm really pumped. I'll say that this will be a unique answer for me. You'll appreciate this, and I don't know what percentage of so I'm in this stage of my life right now where on my show, no one on my crew, my co-host, producer, technical director, the social guy, video producer, no one has kids. I'm the only one. Mm-hmm. And I feel like my life has changed so dramatically since I had my daughter. She turns 1 on May 6th, a little over a month from now. My life has changed so dramatically that I feel like I can't have a conversation with someone almost who also doesn't have kids because they don't understand. And that's not an insult. I didn't understand what it was before I had a kid. So I say to my wife recently, so 2 of my best friends live in Connecticut, right? And it's probably an hour and a half drive from where I live in New York City. And we always, when we all live in New York or live close together, because I lived in South Florida for a few years, we get together and we watch WrestleMania. We're both all huge wrestling fans. So I say to my wife, you know what? Would be great for me to get to Connecticut to watch WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And I am then reminded we have a first birthday party that Saturday. So I can watch at night at home. I just can't drive to Connecticut. And we have some other can I curse on this? Some other bullshit happening on Sunday. So these avenues of pleasures on the highway of life seem to have been closed, at least for the moment. Yep. So I would say my excitement is somewhat tempered by that unfortunate, and I love being a dad. But yeah, I don't get to watch with my friends. I'm going to watch alone. But yeah, dude, I think it's going to be great. Main event night 1's going to be sick. I can't wait to find out what the favor is. CM Punk's favor. Reigns and Rollins. That match is
right. That's not the favor. The main event is not the. What's the favor then?
My guess is that Heyman's going to be in his corner and not Reigns.
Maybe. Yeah, you're supporting me, not Roman Reigns. Maybe. Okay, yeah, that's something.
That's my guess. And I mean,
Did you notice, by the way, when Roman Reigns was telling CM Punk, they're so good at this now, WWE, with the little stuff and hoping that you pick up on it.
Because that's Triple H emphasized. I forget what I was watching something recently, reading something, and it was some wrestler was saying that under Vince, the thought was like not that the fans are dumb, but kind of like the fans aren't
fans are dumb.
The fans,
I think you're right.
Okay, you're right. Like the fans are dumb. I think you're right. They're not going to remember what we did 3 weeks ago. And of course, like wrestling fans are like studying this shit, like people study the Zapruder film, like JFK's assassination.
Yeah.
And Triple H like plays into that, obviously, with the little things that like wrestling fans love.
Everything is something now. And Roman Reigns was telling CM Punk, now, you need to acknowledge your tribal chief. And right next to him, did you notice Paul Heyman was very subtly shaking his head no? And he was mouthing, he was mouthing, "Don't do it."
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's great. It's really awesome.
Maybe you're right. Maybe it's, hey, you need to be in my corner. You need to then leave the ring with me after I win. That's good.
Or maybe like cost Roman the match and Punk goes over. We'll see. And then, dude, like Cena Cody's going to be electric.
How have you enjoyed Cena these last few weeks? So this past week was the best, I thought.
Well, I'd say if I didn't enjoy John, if I said no, would you believe me?
I mean, he is just, he reminds you these last few weeks, Cena, how great he is. He has been, I think he has hit a grand slam these last few weeks.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. I've been thinking about this, right? So it's kind of unfortunate almost that WrestleMania is like not in Philly this year. Right. But WrestleMania is generally like a pretty smart crowd, right? It's fair to say. Mm-hmm. And maybe that changes as time goes on and it gets more like the Super Bowl, because their whole thing now, WWE, is gate. Like how much money
and
are we
holy
making?
Shit, these prices, Nick.
Insane.
You can't go. I can't go anymore. Can't do it.
It's crazy, right? So WrestleMania is usually like a really smart crowd. Mm-hmm. So you would think that the crowd would cheer Cody and boo Cena. Is there any way that Cena, like, which would be incredible, obviously, after years of him being the babyface and getting booed, that he gets cheered now being the dastardly heel?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's tough to tell because the only time that we've seen him since Elimination Chamber has been in Europe. And those crowds have been phenomenal. I mean, they've been exactly what you want if you're WWE. We don't know how the American crowd is going to react to Cena yet. We haven't seen it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm fascinated how this is going to go, because this isn't like Cody Roman, where like the story is built for Cody to win, obviously, and like that's the big payoff. I think the payoff here is Cena winning, and I think there's no way he loses.
I think
he has to win.
I think
if he loses, like, where does the story go if he loses?
See, that's what I'm stuck on. If he loses, what does he do the rest of the year? Where does he go? Like, he has to win. What else do we do in the rest of the year if he loses? Like, he's a loser then. What do we care about the rest of the? We don't care about a heel who's a loser. So he's got to win, I think.
My guess is that this builds to some sort of like redemption arc, right? Where he wins the belt, he holds it as a heel, and think about the money they're going to, I mean, like, here's John, I'm making this up, right? John Cena versus CM Punk at SummerSlam. Cena heel, Punk face for the title.
Yeah.
I mean, crazy.
I think I saw that the final pay-per-view of the year is going to be in Boston, Cena's hometown.
Yeah.
And that it's called Ruthless Aggression.
and he'll probably, like, my guess is he goes out, he'll lose, obviously, in his last, probably to Cody. I'm sure this is already planned.
Oh, and how great is the story that he's already planted the seed that I'm going to win the title and I'm going to retire with the belt.
Yeah, it's really
That's a great story.
It's an awesome story. I'm guessing that he'll put Cody over in his last match, and probably do for all like the diehard wrestling fans out there, like maybe some like post-match similar to, not apples to apples, but Macho Man's face turn after losing the career-ending match.
WrestleMania 7. Yeah. What a moment. Not a dry eye in the house, Nick.
Yeah. That's my first WrestleMania that I like remember watching.
What a night. What a night. Wow. So you don't remember watching WrestleMania 6, huh?
So I remember like Warrior winning,
Yeah.
but it's like, so I remember watching like Niners beating the Broncos in Super Bowl 24. I remember watching it, but not really like knowing, like having any idea what it was really. Same thing with WrestleMania 6. Super Bowl 25, Giants beat the Bills is the first one where I was like locked in. And WrestleMania 7 was the first WrestleMania I was locked in.
Were those that WrestleMania 7 was 91? I feel like Giants Bills was 91
That's
also.
right. Yeah, January 91.
Yeah. Wow. That's a big year for you right there.
Well, 90 was the first. So 90, I watched the entire, like, that's the first year I remember watching like UNLV beat the piss out of Duke in 90.
Yes.
But then 91's the first Final Four I really remember watching, and Duke beats Roy Williams in Kansas in the national title game. And beats UNLV in the semifinal.
WrestleMania 6, 1990. I'm 9 years old. My dad took me. We watched it on closed circuit television. For those who have no idea what that is, closed circuit television. It was at Miami Arena. They had 2 huge Jumbotron flat screens set up on the court, on the floor. You purchase a ticket, you sit wherever you want, and they streamed WrestleMania 6 there. Closed circuit television.
Yeah.
That's where we watched it.
Yeah. These youngins, man, they have no idea what things used to be.
No idea what we used to have to go through to watch wrestling.
We actually did this on the, I don't even want to say what I was going to say. We just,
Nick, excellent job. Can we promote anything else for you? Anything else that people need to know?
No, just like You Better You Bet, weekdays, 3 to 7 p.m. Eastern, final hour on NBC Sports and Peacock. I have the national show coming up Saturday morning with myself and Brad Evans, 8 to 10 a.m., like every Odyssey station nationwide, getting people set to bet and win, hopefully, on the Final Four.
Great job, Nick. Good catching up with you, man. Thank you.
Wishing everybody minimal sweats, winning bets, the absolute very best of luck.